Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session about OCI database management and operation insights. I am Florentina and I have Rishabh here with me. We are both cloud domain specialists working on Oracle manageability solutions. Rishabh has over 9 years of experience in IT domain, working in various roles, and he is specialized in operations and monitoring. I have over 7 years of experience working as a DBA before, and then into manageability domain. And together we will take you through a short introduction of these cloud services and the live demonstration. So let's get started. This session today is essentially a continuation to our first session a few months back, where we discussed all the O&M services. And today we will focus on database management and operation insight. So first, a short recap of what observability and management platform is. So observability and management platform is cloud native and is tightly integrated with OCI services, but can also monitor on-premise deployments as well as other cloud vendors. Also is multi-cloud monitoring across Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, Amazon, Microsoft Azure, as well as customer data centers. And you'll see it reduces the need for dedicated expertise with built-in machine learning for automated troubleshooting. Observability and management platform consists of 4 main services that help with the monitoring of one's IT landscape. So we have application performance monitoring. And with this service, we can gain end-to-end visibility of an application. This means that we can monitor right from the end user activities down to the backend calls. With logging analytics, which is the all-powered log data analytic tool. The logs from across the computing systems are collected and stored together and acts like the Google for any information, good or bad, regarding your hardware or software. Our focus today, as I said, will be database management, which allows you to monitor and manage your Oracle databases. So Oracle Database Management provides comprehensive database performance and management capability for all flavors of Oracle databases, including OCI and on-premises, which significantly will reduce the burden on DBAs by providing a full lifecycle solution encompassing monitoring, performance management, tuning, and database administration. So it provides performance diagnostics capabilities that simplify diagnostic performance issues for administrators and ensure quicker resolution of performance bottlenecks. We will also look at the operation insight that help us with capacity planning and predicting the future requirements of the IT infrastructure. We can find the overutilized or the underutilized databases and servers, both of which are undesirable. So it will also help to find the capacity needs in the future. Now let's look at how we consolidate our database and help make it optimized and make sure that the application backend is healthy and running as per requirements. So the database management service will look into more details. So our look at database management operations tell us that many companies are managing on-premise environments with one set of tools and practices and cloud environments in a completely different way, creating operations and data silos, which are inefficient and error-prone. Cloud adoption rates are increasing rapidly, and the existing tools that monitor legacy systems are not designed for effective problem diagnosis, and hence does not meet the business SLAs, leading to problems not being identified at the right time. So today, databases are deployed in a hybrid mode, on premises and on cloud. And there is a need to monitor and manage these databases together and provide a single pane of glass view. Business SLAs can be maintained only when we solve database problems on a real-time basis. Also, there are many packed applications that suffer application response issues. And this demands for a database management tool that address problems in real time and also helps issues identification for packed application. And Oracle has been a leader in database management for decades. And now these unique capabilities are available in Oracle Cloud. So this new database management service brings the best of Oracle's industry leading capabilities from Oracle Enterprise Manager into Oracle Cloud. This includes fleet-wide monitoring and management for all flavors of Oracle database, whether they are live on premises or in the cloud. You'll be able to leverage the best diagnostics and tuning capabilities from Oracle, such as AWR, providing real-time SQL monitoring, as well as integrated advisors for problem resolution. DBAs no longer have to maintain the system, freeing up time to focus their high-value skills. Database management is now available natively in Oracle Cloud as a scalable modern application combined with robust automation, making it truly elastic and reduce the operational cost from a customer perspective. If you are using database 11204 and above, you will be able to get a comprehensive view of the performance of your database fleet. In addition, key innovations like database fleet automation simplify and speed database fleet management for both on-premises and databases deployed on Oracle Cloud infrastructure. So the service not only provides a single pane of glass, as I said, for your databases, but also provide tools for rapid troubleshooting and administration. One of the main features is that it provides a fleet level monitoring for all your Oracle databases. And this not only provides you with a unified view of general metrics, but also allows you to perform administrative tasks such as running SQL jobs on a single database or across all databases, irrespective of their deployment groups of application, wide segregation, by using the feature called database groups. Another feature is Performance Hub, which provides holistic performance management capabilities, providing a single view of the database performance using a varied set of features, such as active session history analytics, real-time SQL monitoring, automatic database diagnostics monitoring, blocking sessions, and so on. And also, Performance Hub help us answer to how much of the database is waiting for a resource, such as CPU or disk I/O. Also, whether database performance degraded over a given time period and what could be the likely cause. It answers to which specific modules are causing a load on the system and where most of databases time is being spent on this module. Another question which Performance Hub answers is which SQL statements are the key contributors to changes in database performance and which executions are causing them. Now, another feature, real-time SQL monitoring. With this, you can perform complex runtime application SQL analysis, identity and guide optimization of application calls in the data tier. Real-time SQL monitoring gives you the following capabilities, like observe and analyze important SQL executions in progress, parallel and long-running queries. Another capability, it will perform detailed and comprehensive execution analysis. Also, research for footprint per query plan step. Visualize query plans interactively. Also perform real-time and historic analysis. We also have AWR Explorer in database management, which is an integration of performance and data visualization tool, which displays the historical performance data from AWR snapshots in easy to interpret charts. So these features, it enables to visualize AWR data in a single interface, thereby allowing an expert DBA to analyze performance trends and detect issues. The RAC monitoring feature is a Aware Fleet dashboard in database management, which helps the database administrator identify databases contending for these critical resources. So you can monitor database instance specific details from the instance tab of the database summary page to monitor some metrics like database time and average active sessions, IO through output and bandwidth, and memory components. So database management provides a simple unified feed view across databases, complex cluster environments, and helps to troubleshoot application problems. Now, you can view and modify the parameter settings for your database using the database parameters, and also track any deviations in database parameter settings between the current instance and the server parameter file configuration with the option to reset the default configuration equivalent to factory default. The tablespace monitoring feature supports basic monitoring to report the space used and allocated for all the data files within the system and user tablespace. Also, you can search by tablespace name, get a summary of the overall space allocated and used for the entire database, and get a breakdown by individual tablespace and data files. So developers can create templates to address needs across compartments within a group. Apply jobs as templates to run your own SQL scripts against a single database. Now, let's take a look at Operation Insight, which is another OCI native service that provides holistic insight into database and host resource utilization and capacity. With Operation Insights, you can analyze resource usage of databases, hosts across the enterprise. You can forecast future demand for resources based on historical trends. Also, with Operation Insight, you can compare SQL performance across databases and identify common patterns. As well, with Operation Insights, you can identify SQL performance trends across enterprise-wide databases, analyze AWR statistics for database performance, diagnostics, and tuning across a fleet of databases. Operation Insights consists of the following integrated applications, such as capacity planning, Oracle SQL Warehouse, Exadata Insights, AWR Hub. So this application allows database administrators, DevOps, and IT executives to make critical decisions about their databases and hosts using historical and long-term data through machine learning and data-driven capacity planning that helps with proactive performance management and thereby reducing the cost of operations and providing increased business productivity. So the main components of Operation Insights are providing insights into the capacity requirements of databases and hosts, providing in-depth insights into the SQL performance on these databases using the SQL Warehouse. So for other use cases, it also provides features for Exadata Insights, as well as Data Lake for custom analytics using AWR Hub, Enterprise Manager Warehouse, or Exadata Warehouse, each of which helps in analyzing and planning the performance parameters. So the Oracle SQL Warehouse application makes it easy for you to manage SQL at scale. Using the Oracle SQL Warehouse application of Operation Insights, you can analyze the SQL performance problems for enterprise-wide application across a fleet of databases. And in addition, Oracle SQL Warehouse provides trends and key insights to SQL performance issues, thereby helping you to be proactive in avoiding future problems. So with Oracle SQL Warehouse, you can collect SQL execution plan and session data into a long-term Oracle SQL Warehouse and store data for 25 months. Also, you can compare SQL execution plan between production, test, and development databases. As well, you can compare SQL performance trends across databases and drill down to execution plans for analysis. You can identify SQL statements that were good, but now turned bad, even if the execution plan has not changed. And you can auto-detect anomalies by comparing concurrent SQL response time versus automatic baselines. The Oracle Database Automatic Workload Repository, AWR, collects, processes, and maintains performance statistics for the database that can later be displayed in both reports and views. So a built-in AWR repository that exists in every Oracle database stores this data. So AWR data contains important performance statistics about the Oracle database and can be used for Oracle database performance, diagnostics, and tuning. And to handle AWR data from multiple databases, Operation Insights provides AWR Hub, a cloud-based repository that collects and consolidates AWR snapshot from multiple databases in your OCI tenancy. Exadata Insights lets you analyze the resource utilization of Exadata system, monitored by Enterprise Manager, and thereby identify the spare capacity for new workloads. So this gives you a holistic view of all Exadata system across your enterprise to help optimize capacity based on proactive planning and drive database consolidation use cases. As a note, remember that this feature is available for Exadata systems that are managed by Oracle Enterprise Manager 13C, release 5, and above. So with Exadata Insights, you can analyze resource usage of databases and hosts across the enterprise. You can forecast future demand for resources based on historical trends. You can compare SQL performance across databases and identify common patterns, and also identify SQL performance trends across enterprise-wide data. So this was the presentation. And now we'll quickly look into a live demonstration of these two services, and we'll see the features that we spoke about. And if there are questions, please enter those into the chat. So thank you, Rishabh. I will hand over to you.
Thank you, Florentina. Yeah, so we will look at the demonstration for these two services that we saw just now. Also, thanks to Michael, who's from our team and is helping us to cover the questions. So if you have any questions based on what you see here, please feel free to ask them over the Q&A session. So this, as you see here, is the homepage of Oracle Cloud. We go here to the menu under Observability and Management. Under this, we have many services, of which we are going to focus on these two. So let's take a look at the database management first. So over here, we can see this is a homepage for the database management. And we can see we are seeing an overview for this particular compartment, DB management. And these are what we have. So we have 12 databases which are enabled. And on to the left-hand side, we see a menu for database management. We'll see them one by one. Let's go to the fleet summary first. As seen in the presentation, the fleet summary provides you an overall a single pane of glass where you can see the details, the metrics across all the Oracle databases that you have in IT infrastructure. So here you can see on top, these are the databases. We have 8 of them. You can see what type they are. You can see the statuses, if it's up, it's down, not available, and so on. Since it is integrated with the monitoring system, you can also see if there are any alarms, and if there are any issues, it is marked as a critical or an error, and we can drill down into them. The resource usage on the right-hand side, it shows us the aggregated CPU and the storage and how much usage it has currently. So you can see it has around 1.89 out of 8 CPU that are allocated. Similarly, for the storage, we have 0.1 TB out of around 1 TB allocated. So this is the current resource usage for the time period that we see here for the last 60 minutes. The percentage that we see here in terms of negative in this case is the comparison based on this above. So compared to the same 60 minutes yesterday, we have a slight decrease in the CPU usage. Similarly, for the storage, it's constant. There's no increase or no decrease. If you wanted to have a different level of comparison, you can select 24 hours and you can check it over the last 24 to 48 hours or the same 24 hours, but in the last week. So again, accordingly, the metrics, they will change. So this gives us a quick insight as to how our database fleet is performing in terms of these resources. Coming down here, we see the members of the fleet. So these members are the database. These members are the databases that we have added, and there are several of them in this demo instance. So this is more of like a thumbnail view that we see a database, what type it is, the active sessions, what kind of usage it has, the storage, the CPU, and so on. The basic metrics that will give us a quick view into the health of the databases. We also have a performance tab, which gives us more of a heat map view. You can see that these are, this is the metric which we select here. There are various metrics to select. You can group them by deployment, a version, etc. And accordingly, we will see the heat map. Coming back to the members. So let us take a look at this particular database. So when I click this, it opens to a new page where we see information pertaining to only this particular DB. Now in here, again, you see the basic configuration information on top, what the version is, what kind of DB it is, whether it's PDB, and those kind of simple information. Down below, you see a summary, again, based on the time period that you would select. So this is a basic summary of the metrics. So we see the activity, we see the CPU utilization, the IOPS, again, the metric you can change with respect to a throughput or rate and so on, the memory utilization and the storage. So a very quick view onto how the metrics look like for this particular database only. On the left-hand side, we have several other menus. We have the table space. So one of the most common issues that we see with our database customers that they receive errors on the table space, a lot of ORA errors related to the table space getting full and so on. So over here, it's very easy and quick to take a look into how these table spaces are performing. Not just that, you can view the details. These are the configuration details from the table space in the DB. Also, you can edit them. So if you wanted to, let's say it's getting full, and if you wanted to increase it, increment that, you can add that. You can also schedule an auto increment so that every time it starts getting full, it will automatically increment by a given amount. Provide the credentials and save it, and it will take care of it. So a very quick management onto the table spaces. So this is what we have here. Then similarly, we have the section called users, where we can look at the schema. So we see an overview of the users. You can check the statuses, whether it expired or not, what table space they come from, and so on. So let's see this, for example. When you click on this, the user DBS NMP, which is the default monitoring user created for Oracle databases, we can see what roles and privileges they have. We can see their object privileges and so on. So not just this, for the users that are about to expire, or maybe you need to reset their passwords, you will get notification about them. You can also clear those from here. For the database manager, this is another feature that we have. So with the database manager, you can, the database parameters, you can see the current DB parameters coming from the SP file. You can also edit them. So no need to log into the DB to, have a look at these. You can just check them over here itself. You can search them by name if you're looking for a particular one. Um, you can also edit them. So depends on what the requirement is. You can set the limits yourself from here. So very nifty tool to quickly do basic things that we need on a day-to-day basis for DBAs. Similarly, we have something called jobs. So this sections allows you to run jobs over this particular database. Now let's take a quick look on this. So provide the basic details. For the SQL query, you can enter one of these. We give it a timeout. We then select, this is what is the important one. So we select the schedule details. If you want to have a one-time job, then we can select this. If you want to schedule a job to run only once, but at a later date or a time, we can select this one. Or if you want a scheduled job, then we have the repeating one. So based on a requirement, you select whichever option you need, provide the credentials, and then the SQL command over here. So once that is done, you will be able to see it under the runs, if it's executing or if it's failed, if it succeeded, and so on. So this helps you to do some common admin activities through the jobs on the databases. Now, if you remember, we were looking at a fleet summary. So within the fleet summary, we selected one of the databases, and the jobs that we saw just now was to create and run a job only on that particular database, the manufacturing database over here. Now, there's another concept called a group, the database groups that you see here onto the left. So currently in the scope, we are selecting by compartment. These databases, what we see here are by compartment. There's another option called group. Now let me go to this database groups option. So what this does, it's very, very helpful where as an overall DBA, let's say you want to run a particular set of jobs or need to view a particular set of database, maybe only on the staging environment, only on the QA environment, across all the applications in your IT infrastructure. Doesn't matter what department it comes from. It could be a security database. It could be an application database. It could be anything. But if you, let's say you want to test a particular job across all databases in a non-prod environment, you could do it first over here. And that's how it helps you to get a unified view, irrespective of which compartment these databases are coming from. Now, in this case, we have something called stage. It's a group name. And within this group, we have added 2 demo databases. So now over here, if you want to run a job, the same thing that you saw earlier, create a job, the same details, but the only difference here is that this time it will run across both the databases that we have under this group. So similarly, you could have several groups, doesn't matter which compartments they're coming from. So depending on the RBSC control, you could segregate them, but even then you have control individually over these databases. So it's a very helpful thing, not just to run the jobs, but also maybe I want to look at all the QA databases across my entire IT infrastructure. Then that's where you are selecting, as you saw here within the scope, this stage group is selected, and now I'm seeing only these databases. And then you continue with the rest of the things that we saw earlier. Now coming back to where we were. So going back to the compartment where we will take a look at this particular database. So we saw these options that we have here. The jobs, if you want to associate this database to a particular group, you can add them here, or from the previous menu we saw. We also have the SQL tuning advisor. So I saw that one of them posted a question earlier regarding the SQL tuning advisor. Yes, we do have this. So once the SQL tuning advisor is executed, it's completed successfully, you will see them over here and you can analyze the results. Going back to, okay, so let's take a look at these options. So any DBA would obviously know about these. These are very helpful. So the Performance Hub and the AWR Explorer, these help you to look at the performance of your database, and it's very critical. And therefore, we have these options inbuilt for them. So if you look at the Performance Hub, you can see the metrics, you can see the Ash analytics, the SQL monitoring, you can see whether it's executing, running, etc. The ADDM, if it has any recommendations for you, if there are blocking sessions and so on. So here you can see these are the details. So you can select how you want it. We are just, for now, we are checking the one with the weight class. These are several other options that you can select. So based on the metric, you get other details as well. Now, in the previous screen, we saw the SQL tuning advisor. Now for that, if let's say you found that this particular SQL query was taking a long time and maybe you want to see if there are any recommendations, we click on this and then we run the tune SQL. Now in this one, we are not able to see this because this is a read-only environment, but there will be a pop-up screen where you can provide the details. It will run and then you can see it on the SQL advisor menu, under which you can clearly see what the current statistics are. And based on that, it provides a recommendation. And then it also provides the forecasted statistics for the recommended changes. And then if you want, you can implement those recommendations from the UI itself. So it's very quick and very easy to use this section. Now, if I wanted to take a look at the SQL, so again, we click on this. Now we are seeing the SQL details only for this SQL query. We see a summary. We will see the plans, the Ash analytics, the stats, again, the SQL monitoring, SQL text, and so on. So here we are looking only at the individual level details. Now, similarly, you can click on Tune SQL for this. And again, it will run the advisory and give you the recommendations. So depends on how it is. So this is where it will monitor the SQL queries. We are seeing that some of them are executing at this moment. Some of them have already finished and so on. If necessary, if maybe it's a long running query, you can kill the session from here itself. Otherwise, if you wanted to take a look into the details again, similarly, as we saw before, we click on this and it gives us the statistics about the wait times, the basic metrics regarding the SQL execution. And then you can see the plan stats. You can see here in this format, in the tabular format, which gives you the exact details in terms of how much time, how much memory is taking and so on. Or you could see it in a graphical flow if that is helpful. The SQL query itself, the activity stats. Again, you can change it whether you want to see it as per the plan and so on, and also the metrics regarding the query itself. So quick overviews onto the performance over here. And then similarly, we have the AWR Explorer. Now, of course, for those who are expert DBAs and would like to look into the historical AWR reports, it's useful to have them stored here instead of the production databases, because here you can store it for a much longer time, for months and years. And then you can take a look and it provides you with the details, the metrics. It takes a little bit of time to load. Yeah, it's done. So you can see the metrics. We see the DB times, the background times, etc. Various other options that might be useful for the DBA in terms of running a performance activity or a performance review from the AWRs. So this is what we can do in terms of the database management. A very quick overview onto the features and capabilities of the database management. And the other important point that we have here is that, so this one provides you more from a monitoring perspective about the performance of your database, about the health of your database, and so on. Now, what we have is we also have the operations insight. Again, I go to the menu over here. So we have the operations insight, which helps you to understand the insights onto your database fleet in terms of capacity planning. 1 minute. Yeah, in terms of the capacity planning and the resource forecasting. So now we see that we are running operations insight. It's another service. We selected the appropriate compartment and the regions for this. And now we see that there are 54 databases, 7 hosts. And now let's see what are the features that we have. On to the left, you can see that we have the main module, the capacity planning. We have the Exadata insights, the SQL warehouse, the AWR hub again, we saw just now, the capability to create dashboards out of it, and so on. Let's see the capacity planning. So this is one of the more useful features here. So we see them based on the databases and on the hosts. So for the databases, you see that this is the homepage. It shows us how the metrics look like in the last 30 days. You can see the databases, the names, the types, etc. The CPU utilization, again, as we saw before, this is an aggregate over the last 1 month, where we can see that it has gone down slightly in terms of usage over the last 1 month. But in terms of storage, we see there's a 30% increase over the same time period. Similarly, for the memory, out of the 32 GB that we have, we see an increase. If you see the overall, it's slightly more. In terms of the IO, again, similar metrics, what's the percentage, what's the usage, and so on. The CPU insights that we have here, again, this is a very useful one because this is where we are looking at the utilization. It quickly tells us out of the box how many of our databases are running high on utilization, 8 of them, and then how many of them are running low on utilization, about 10 of them. In this, we can see as per the forecast, how many of these will reach a high utilization in the next 30 days itself. So we see that 12 of the databases are likely to run out of these resources in the next in the next 30 days. So clicking on this so that we can take a look into more detail. Here we have the insights. Let us change it to maybe 90 days so that it looks better for us. So over the last 90 days, we see these are the databases. We see how what type it is. We see the average usage, the max allocation, the percentages, and so on. So below, we see here I've selected this one, the third one, Pro LLP, and here we see the trend. So this has been the trend. The red line marks the allocation of the CPU. So it has 64 CPUs allocated, and this is the trend. So we see over the given duration, it has been going up and down slightly. And based on the machine learning forecasting, at a certain point in future, so we can see around 11th of May, today being the 4th, it is likely to run out of the allocated CPU. And by this time, which is somewhere around 17th or 18th of May, it will require around 75 CPUs. So this quickly gives you a forecasting so that you can plan your capacity. And in this case, we saw that we are looking at the high utilization. Similarly, you also have the low utilization. So the main objective for capacity planning here is to optimize the usages, the resources in this case. So we do not want a highly utilized system, neither do we want an underutilized system. So we want to optimize them. So looking at this, we clearly understand that there's a high chance or a high probability that it will run out of resources. So we could allocate more in this case. For the ones which are running low, we could probably remove some of the CPU and memory and adjust it that way. If you look at the heat map format, probably let's take a look at the utilization level, maybe a usage change. And here you can see this is again an interesting view, which tells us that these databases are generally a medium high utilization databases, and the percentage change is somewhat okay. You can see the color coding, different shades of yellow or amber, and then this represents a decrease. And again, for the green ones, you see an increase over here. So what I would be more interested is to look at those which are already marked as high utilization databases, and also the percentage increase is also high. So the utilization was already high and the percentage increase is going higher day by day. So these would be the ones which we might be more interested at. Similarly, the reverse case for the low utilization. So according to this, again, depending on which database you select, you will see a forecasting, and this way you know how you can adjust the resources on these databases. So similarly, you have options for the storage, for the memory, for the IO, and so on. For the hosts, again, a similar one. So here again, you see the similar metrics based on the hosts that we have. We see the CPU insights, the memory utilization, again, in terms of consumers, the top CPU and the top memory, and the general trends. Exactly similar to what we saw for the databases. Now we are seeing them for the host. So it's also very critical that the host on which our software is running, our databases are running, they themselves are healthy enough. So this is where, again, a similar insight, as we saw, it helps us to get an idea as to how they will perform in the near future. Now, we also have a separate section for the Exadata insights. So if you are looking at your Exadata, we can see them as a fleet. Over this, we have selected the last 90 days. We see the similar kind of metrics. And if you want, you can drill down to them. And for the individual Exadata machine, you can see over on the left-hand side what it has, the components, and on the right-hand side, you can see the key metrics, where you can see the current utilization levels are actually quite high. So again, you can see them by the database, by host, by the storage server, and so on. So very quick insight into how the systems are performing. The SQL warehouse, again, it helps you. We saw a similar example before where it utilizes the power of the SQL analysis that we are doing. And it gives you, again, a very quick overview, insight into how these SQL queries are. So you can see that we have an inventory of 96 databases, last 7 days. I have to change it back, 1 minute. So I change it back to the appropriate compartment. And now you can see that we have these databases. It has analyzed almost 3,000 SQL queries, out of which it straight away tells us how many of them have a degradation, how many of them have variability, in this case, none, which is good. Inefficient SQL queries in terms of plan changes that are quite high, and so on. So if you want to take a look into more details, again, you just click on that. It shows you which one of them. In this case, this one, which is the bigger in size, again, it tells us that there's a problem over here. So response times are high in this case. And if you click here, you see more details for that particular SQL query. Again, the insights that we saw earlier. So overall, as you see here, we see the capacity planning in terms of your databases, your CPU, your Exadata, as well as your SQL query. Now, together within the insights, the main idea here is to look at the current resource levels, the performance levels here, which allows you to understand what the future capacity might be like. And accordingly, you can make a budget, you can do the planning, you can actually prevent an outage if all these suggestions are taken care of properly and at a proper time. So together, these two services, as we saw here, the operations insight and the database management, they are very critical towards day-to-day running and operations of our databases. I finish my demo flow over here. If you have any questions, please let us know.